Have you ever noticed the cheapest foods in the store? Are they always on the bottom shelf, like they're hiding or being hidden? Sardines used to be simple, a working man's protein, grandmother's secret to strong bones. But this year, 7 brands turned that trust into a gamble. And most people still don't know which tin might be the last one they open. The poetic. Every year, the grocery aisles get longer, more choices, brighter labels, bolder promises. But the decisions, they get harder because somewhere between the marketing and the metal, between the ocean and your plate, something changed. Sardines were never glamorous. They didn't need to be. They were honest, salty, oily, real, the kind of food that didn't apologize. But now they come in 17 flavors, packed in oils you can't pronounce, stacked in discount bins where the fluorescent lights flicker, and nobody asks why they're so cheap. It's not about being afraid of food. It's about noticing when the tin you've trusted for 30 years starts to feel different, when the oil smells wrong, when the fish breaks apart like wet paper, when your stomach tells you something your eyes couldn't see. This isn't about paranoia, it's about paying attention. Segment 1. The illusion of flavor cloverleaf. The name sounds safe, doesn't it? Like something from a meadow. Something your mother might have kept in the pantry beside the tomato soup. For decades, it was exactly that. A Canadian staple, reliable, unremarkable, trusted. Until 2021, when flavored became fatal. They pulled 20,000 cans off the shelves. Garlic and chive, smoked jalapeno. The fancy tins that made sardines feel gourmet. The reason? Clostridium botulinum. Not a spice, not a preservative. A bacteria that shuts down your nervous system, one forkful at a time. Botulism doesn't announce itself. No swollen can, no hissing air, just a clean tin with poison sleeping inside. You open it expecting smokiness, maybe a little heat. Instead, you're rolling the dice on whether you'll wake up tomorrow able to swallow. The hospital visits were quiet, the recall quieter, a press release most people never saw. But the Reddit threads, those told the real story. Russian roulette and garlic flavor, one person wrote. Another, fed this to my kid last Tuesday. Just found out today. The shame in that sentence, the horror. Imagine that weight. Here's what they won't tell you in the ads. Flavored sardines aren't just sardines with seasoning. They're extra processing, more ingredients, more chances for something to go wrong. Every additive is a door, and sometimes the wrong thing walks through. If you want spice, add it yourself. At home, where you control what goes in, because the difference between gourmet and deadly is sometimes just a faulty seal and a company that hoped you wouldn't notice. Would you trust a tin that tried too hard to taste like something else? Or do you think simplicity might be the last honest thing we have? Segment 2, the shadow shipment grandma sardines. The name itself is a con. It conjures wooden spoons, old recipes, kitchens that smelled like rosemary and sea salt. But there was no grandma, just unmarked tins shipped into the country with no FDA approval, no batch codes, no way to trace where they came from or what was inside. You find them in small ethnic grocery stores, tucked between the dried beans and the discount rice. The labels are faded, sometimes in languages you can't read, sometimes barely legible at all. And the price? Always too good, because when something costs half what it should, it's not a bargain, it's a warning. Reddit users started posting photos, dented cans, oily leaks, fish that looked gray around the edges. Smells like cat food left in a hot garage, one comment read. Another opened it and immediately threw up. These aren't just bad reviews, they're SOS signals. Here's the betrayal. These tins sit on shelves beside legitimate brands. You might not even know you bought one. Until you get home, peel back the lid, and realize you just gambled with something that has no safety net. Because when food poisoning hits, it hits the vulnerable hardest. Seniors, people on blood pressure medication, anyone whose body is already fighting just to stay balanced. The CDC says older adults are 10 times more likely to die from listeria than younger people. 10 times. And these shadow tins? They're a lottery no one should play. But here's the quiet part. They keep showing up. Because as long as someone's buying, someone's shipping. How do you fix this? You look for the stamps, USDA, FDA, batch numbers, expiration dates. If the tin can't prove where it came from, leave it there, because your health isn't worth saving $2, and Grandma isn't in the kitchen. She never was. Segment 3, the Premium Lye Wild Planet. The name makes you feel good, doesn't it? Like you're doing something right. Supporting the ocean, choosing clean, choosing wild. The labels are beautiful. Earthy tones, recycled vibes, promises of purity. You pay extra because you believe it's worth it. But peel back the marketing and you find arsenic. Not a lot, just enough to build up. Slowly, quietly, in your kidneys, your liver, your blood. Independent testing found some Wild Planet tins carrying over 100 micrograms of arsenic in a single serving. That's not trace amounts. That's accumulation, the kind that doesn't make you sick today. But in 6 months, a year, 2 years, your body starts to whisper warnings you can't decode. And here's the cruelest part. It's legal. The FDA allows it. The levels are within acceptable limits. But acceptable is a word written by regulators, not by the people eating it every week. Europe has tighter rules, stricter testing. The same brand, sold across the ocean, has to meet higher standards. But here, we trust the label. We believe sustainable means the safe. And we don't ask questions until our bodies start asking for us. 1 can every few days. That's what many seniors do. Protein, omega-3s, heart health, all the right reasons. But if that can is laced with a toxic element, then every bite is a slow trade. A little health now, a little poison later. Would you still call it clean eating? If the clean came with invisible rust, here's the fix. Look for brands that publish heavy metal testing, that show their batch results online, that don't hide behind eco-friendly fonts and vague promises. If they can't prove it's clean, then it probably isn't, because premium is just a word, and words don't protect your kidneys. Segment 4, the oil betrayal. And now, the worst one. Not because of the fish, but because of what it swims in. Unbranded bulk sardines, the ones with no name, no origin story, just a tin, and a label that says packed in olive oil. Except it's not. Lab tests found that up to 70% of these so-called olive oil tins were actually filled with cheap soybean or sunflower blends, sometimes rancid, sometimes so degraded it shouldn't even be called food. You crack the lid, and instead of that golden, grassy smell, you get something sharp, chemical, like a burned pan left out in the sun. One European inspector said it plainly. Unfit even for lamp fuel. And yet, it made it to American shelves, discount stores, dollar bins, corner shops, because the label said olive oil, and we believed it. Here's why that matters. Olive oil has a health halo. It's linked to lower inflammation, better heart function, the Mediterranean diet. So when you see it on a tin, you think you're doing something good. But fake oil does the opposite. It raises inflammatory markers, stresses the kidneys, triggers allergic responses. For someone already managing heart meds, or diuretics, or blood pressure medication, that oil isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous. And here's the betrayal. The FDA allows imports with minimal oversight, no traceability requirements, no batch testing mandates. A $3 tin can slip through, and by the time it's flagged, thousands have already been sold. A UC Davis study found that 69% of imported olive oils in the US failed purity tests. 69%. If that's true for bottles on the shelf, imagine what's hiding in a sardine tin. The fix? Don't trust the bargain? Look for extra virgin olive oil, certification seals, origin information. If you can't trace it, don't taste it, because the danger isn't always the fish. Sometimes it's what we drown it in. Segment 5. The safe harbor. But not every tin is a trap. Some still earn their place. King Oscar, Norwegian, honest, over a century old. Open one of these, and you get what you paid for. Firm fillets, oil that smells fresh, fish that tastes like the ocean, not the discount aisle, sodium levels that won't spike your blood pressure, traceable batches, standards that haven't been cut to save a nickel. This isn't a commercial. It's a contrast. Because when you put a King Oscar tin next to an unlabeled import, the difference isn't just quality, it's respect. Respect for the fish, respect for the process, respect for the person who's going to eat it. And then there's Patagonia provisions, the kind of sardine that feels like it came from a different world, thick fillets, real olive oil, sourcing information printed right on the box. You know where the fish came from, how it was caught, when it was canned. It costs more, but you're not paying for marketing. You're paying for honesty. And in an industry where mislabeling is common, that honesty is rare. These two brands prove something important. Sardines don't have to be slimy. They don't have to smell like regret. They don't have to gamble with your health. They just have to be made by people who still care about the tin they're sealing. So here we are. 7 tins that broke the trust, 2 that kept it. But this was never really about sardines. It was about what we're willing to accept, how low the price has to go. Before we start asking why, because the bottom shelf isn't just a location, it's a strategy. Put it low enough, and people stop looking closely. Make it cheap enough, and they stop asking questions. Every year, the labels get brighter, the promises get bolder, but the oil stays rancid. The batches stay untraceable, and we keep buying. Not because we don't care, but because we're tired, and trust is easier than vigilance. But here's the thing about trust. It's not a feeling, it's a contract. And when a brand breaks it, you don't owe them a second chance. You owe yourself a better choice. So the next time you're in that aisle, and the fluorescent lights are buzzing overhead, and the tin in your hand costs half what it should, pause, read the label, check for the codes, ask where it came from. Because the cheapest option isn't always the one on the shelf. Sometimes it's the one that costs you later, in a hospital room, in a weakened body, in a trust you can't get back. It was never about the fish. It was always about what we're willing to swallow and whether we're brave enough to spit it out. They want you confused. They want you overwhelmed. Because in these aisles, confusion is profit. But you don't have to stay confused. Before you go, hit that subscribe button. We don't just review, we expose. From the hype to the hidden failures to the tricks brands hope you'll never question. So hit like, tap subscribe, and join thousands of smart shoppers who already know. Smart spending starts with asking smarter questions. Up next, we're opening the freezer because what they're calling chicken nuggets might not be chicken at all.